I'm here with blues legend Doug MacLeod. Thank you for joining me, first of all.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for asking me.
Well, that was, you just got off stage.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of great musicians out there, but it's hard to find someone necessarily that's a great performer. And you're not only a musician, but you're a storyteller. You throw some philosophy out there.
Yeah.
You're a stand-up comic.
Sitting down, Thomas.
Well, actually, that's very correct. And you definitely you can be a motivational speaker as well.
Oh man, thank you.
So tell me where you got your craft from. How did that come about?
Well, Nikolai, let me think now. I think it come about the first guy was a one-eyed blues singer out of Toronto, Virginia. I knew him as Ernest Banks, but that may have not been his name. Because Honey Boy Edwards remembered a guy that looked like him. He had one eye, chocolate skin, head like a bowling ball, bald guy. Honey Boy remembered somebody like that in Mississippi. So maybe this guy that I knew, Ernest Banks, he did something bad there, maybe serious, and migrated to Virginia, changed his name. Because he didn't play like a Virginia guy, like a Piedmont style guy. He could play it, but his forte was the power Delta style. And he gave me 2 bits of advice. He said, never play in words you don't believe, and never write or sing about what you don't know about. And he gave me the lesson that this music blues, if I was going to learn this, it was honesty, honest feeling. So I think that's where I began, and then my craft, learning it with playing with people like George Harmonica Smith, Pee Wee Creighton, Big Joe Turner, Mama Thornton, Lo Folsom, all those guys.
Now, that speaks a little bit to the history of the blues. There's something about the blues, especially when you see it live. There's a soul to it, there's an essence to it that doesn't necessarily come across with other music as clearly. It tells a story, good versus evil, love versus hate, and hopefully love wins out, and the goodness wins out. But what do you think it is about the roots of the blues music that actually brings that forth so clearly with that type of music live? How come people in the audience feel it stronger than if they're listening to pop music or rock music?
Again, it's the honesty.
You think it's the honesty?
I really do. I think that's what this music is. I think it's, all the time I was learning with the old guys, I saw them care about people when they entertained. Like I said tonight, entertainment was not something that you stopped when you got off the stage. If you were gifted enough to have the gift of entertaining, you were supposed to do that so you can make someone feel happy, or make them feel something for their life, make their life a little bit better or easier. And I remember George Smith telling me on his porch. He said, Dub, just because you can play a guitar, just because you can sing, that don't make you more special than the man that's a mechanic, because you can't fix your car. Can you, Doug? I said, no. And he said, if you got plumbing that doesn't work, he said, no, I'm not talking under the sink plumbing, I'm talking about under the floor plumbing. Yeah. You ain't the guy that's gonna fix it, are you, Doug? I said, no. He said, well, they have their gifts and they have their talents. And that was a big lesson, because that takes the ego out of it.
It takes everyone to make the world go around, right?
It does, it does. And there's a great thing that Luther Allison said, that my manager, she managed him. And Luther said this. He said, leave your ego, play the music, and love the people. That's blues. Yeah. That's what it's about.
Now, for maybe some younger people who may be watching this who don't really have any knowledge of the blues, they may not know the Buddy Guys or the B.B. Kings or any of those people. Where do you think a good place for them would be to start to kind of build that passion up?
Well, I think Albert King, B.B. King, pretty good place to start. And then definitely go to Louis Jordan, who was an influence of B.B. King's. And then find your way down to the pre-war guys, the guys that those guys listen to. Find the tree. You grab the tree, you're on the leaf. And then you say, well, what's this leaf attached to? Oh, that's a limb over there. Where's that limb going? Oh, that's to the trunk. Where's that trunk go? And then you find out, so you know the history of where the music comes from. So that when you're playing it, because the young musicians now, they're not going to be able to meet the old guys. They're not going to be able to be around them to hear the stories. there's a feeling when you meet somebody. You're not going to get it on a DVD. You're not going to get it on a tape. So these young musicians now, they're going to have to get it another way. And so I think maybe if I was a young musician now, that's what I would do. I'd find someone I like and find out who they like and go all the way down the tree so I get a good idea of what the music is.
Now, you speak of those old musicians that we can't meet anymore. Could you maybe pass along one or two stories of something that would may kind of open people's eyes to that world back in the golden era of blues?
Well, there's a lot of swearing and cussing going on, you know. I don't know if we can, I don't know if I can, you know, I don't know where you're going to have this film. I don't know how I can do that. But maybe, well, I can give you, I told the great story, I thought, tonight with George Harmonica Smith, where I was playing electric guitar at that time, and he came up to me and he said, Doug, you sure sound like B.B. King. I said, oh, thank you, George. And then he said, Doug, that's not a compliment. So what he was saying was, you got to be you.
Yeah, for sure.
And the other thing I remember from old blues guy was playing bass in those days, and I wore like jeans and a regular mattress kind of shirt. And after the first set, the blues guy took me over to the side and he said, look, he said, if you're going to dress like the audience, I'm going to pay you like the audience.
Wow,
that's
great, yeah.
Those guys had a way, you know, they had a way.
They told you the way it was, right? And the way it should be.
They tell you the way it is, but there was humor in it.
Oh, for sure.
You know, there was humor.
And that's the most important thing in
life,
right?
I think so. I think, like I say, you know, on all of my concerts, I think this music blues, I think, is a music of overcoming adversity, not subjecting to it. And the way I saw these guys do it, in my experience, was humor. That's one of the ways they overcame adversity. And I think with humor, well, humor gives you a balance of life, I think. You know, through the bad times, you got a little bit of humor, it'll lift your spirit up. The good times, when your head gets big, humor make you come back to the right size. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite examples is always Charlie Chaplin being brave enough to go after Adolf Hitler and actually doing The Great Dictator. And that's just, you know, the best way sometimes to laugh in the face of, or the best way to deal with evil in the face is actually to laugh at it.
Laughter gets through, doesn't it?
For sure. Now, again, one more thing that kind of comes to my mind is you've seen the ebbs and flows of blues through many decades. How do you perceive it in the present, and what do you think the future holds for it?
Oh, that's a real good question, Nikolai. I think that I think we have to preserve the tradition of this music. I think that's important, the history of it. And I think when I travel, I do see young musicians. I was in Memphis, Tennessee to do the IBCs. I was going to judge there, and I did a slide guitar workshop. And it was mostly young musicians that wanted to learn. Not only learn how to play that, but to hear some of the stories and to get some of the lifestyle of what that was like. So I see blues now. I think it's changing. I think it is changing. I think it's gravitating to a more rock kind of thing, which can be a good thing, you know. But I do hope that the future of this music will always include the history.
Yeah, you're seeing it more with the Black Keys and Vintage Trouble and some of these up-and-coming bands. They've got some blues roots in it, but it is rock-infused.
Yes, but it's always been that way.
For sure, yeah.
It's always been that way.
Going back to the Stones, well, they just put out a blues album, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been that way. You know, it's always been that rock and roll comes from, what wasn't it, Muddy Waters that said the blues had a baby and they call it rock and roll? There you go.
And Dan Aykroyd's actually done a very good job of trying to get the blues out there, right? He's got a lot of radio shows from the blues, and obviously that's transitions from the Blues Brothers days and up through.
The Bluesmobile.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. Now let's transition to my favorite question.
Okay.
What's one of your favorite films? What's one that sticks with you?
My wife is going to be so embarrassed when I say this. She's going to say, how could he say this on camera? But one of my favorite films that I can watch over and over and over is Rocky I.
The original.
That movie, you talk about overcoming adversity.
Mm-hmm.
That movie, I love it. Because maybe it reminds me of my struggle, you know, going against the odds and doing it. Yeah, that's the movie.
Well, I read a little bit about your bio, right? And you had a stutter as a child?
Had a stutter,
and you had a rough upbringing?
Yeah.
And so it's really says a lot about you that you can go up and you're not even playing with a band. You do it all by yourself on stage, which takes a lot of courage, and it's impressive.
I think that's why the movie Rocky, because boxers, you're alone, right? It's you. You got to, they got to fight another guy, a guy like me that plays alone. It's a mindset, and I can relate to boxers like that,
And that movie has a little bit of everything, right? It's got the iconic music, it's got great performances, it's got the solid story.
Yeah. And that thing where he's in the bed before the fight and he says, "Just let me go the distance." Oh man.
Yeah.
That gets my heart even more. Sure. Just want to go to the distance.
Well, thank you so much for this. I truly appreciate it.
Nikolai, my pleasure, man. All the best to you.
Thanks.